Germany meetup 2 months ago, I believe, and very happy to be one of the first supporters of the whole Alexandria project, and would love to know more about Alexandria from Dylan's mouth.
All right. Hi, everyone. My team and I have been really hard at work for the past month now, and our energy has been really high, and the idea has been really far out there. And I know that everybody in this whole panel has probably got some wild ideas, and DAOs are really hot right now. And so we put a lot of last minute, like, think tank kind of ideas together. And I'm really happy to present what we have, because I'm an educator myself. I've been teaching Python for the last 3 years now, and I do programming lessons for young students. And I honestly can say this with fact, is that anyone can learn how to code, and anyone can learn anything that they put their mind to. And it doesn't matter what background you are. It doesn't matter who you are. If you get the right materials, you can choose who you choose to be. And I sincerely believe that. I went from being somebody who didn't have much, and I picked up the right materials, and I just so happened to have the right materials, but not everyone's that lucky. So I want to talk about education, because that's the focus of my project that I want to share with you. So Alexandria, what is it? But I want to get into some background right now. Education is way too expensive for no really good reason across the board. And like I said, I got access to the right information because I just so happened to go to school, but I spent thousands of dollars for things that I could have just gone to Google for. And I think a lot of people can say that's very true, because just like with quantum, you can't find the information, even in school. Sometimes you got to write it down. You got to find the information in some way. But there's some things you have to go to school for, but not everyone can afford it. And student loan debt is above, I think, 1.5, where it says right here, $1.7 trillion at the end of 2020. And that's only going to get higher. And then also, as people graduate from school, the underemployment rate continues to go up, almost nearing 40%, which means that graduates are undervalued. As soon as they get out, they don't have the right job placement, and they're still loaded with debt. And the average borrower here in America, when I did these kind of like the Federal Reserve, it says $36,000, which to some people around the world, especially the disenfranchised, that's an astronomical amount of money. And the average loan payment for that is about the same as a car payment. And I looked it up. It's actually the same as my car payment. And I'm lucky that I bought myself an electric car, but it's also like nice. So I like my car, but it's expensive, and not everyone can afford that. And if you can't afford college, then the best thing to do after that is to go get certified. And so workers who typically go and get certified in like an IT profession, typically they earn about 30% more in wages. And the average certification is about $500, give or take, but it's not globally accepted. And a lot of people actually, they're going to look at your bachelor's, or they're going to look at your master's, and they're going to look at your certs. But the one thing that they want to know is whether or not you have the skill, whether or not you have the ability to say like program or to do the job that's at hand. And you can typically prove that when you're with them and they can see that you're skilled. And typically people go to do that when they're at a boot camp, but even boot camps cost like near $15,000, some are $20,000. The cheapest one I can find was about $5,000. So the question is how can we solve that when there's so many people who are out of reach in general? And this is a map of actually all the people who have access to the internet, because we would all think like, well, if not a cert and not a bachelor's, then why not just get an online education? And sometimes like Udemy courses or Coursera courses, these popular online institutions, they spend like $10. But again, not everybody has access to the same internet that we have. One of my teammates, his name is Sahid. He just came in and he's actually from West Africa. I'm blanking on the region's name, so excuse me for that. But he said that his mother lives there and she has to pay at least $50 for every gigabyte that she uses just to access the internet for one day. So how does somebody plan on taking an online course or getting their education, especially in areas where they're out of reach zones, and expect to graduate or even expect to compete with the rest of the world? It's not possible. So there's a lot of major issues. Number one, education is overpriced. And number two, the certifications and the bachelors still don't guarantee you a job, or they don't guarantee you enough pay. And the underemployment rate has been the same for the past 30 years. And employers have a hard time finding the right workers to get people into the job because the certifications and the qualifications are all across the board. And hirers are relying on HRs to figure out who's the right fit with the right particular skill. And skill is not being equivalently matched to the job. And then the debt is insane. And then online schools don't have the right accreditation process. So we need something that's universal. So that's where this is coming in. How are we going to try to solve these issues is, number one, we have to have the incentive to get people on board to the right platform to start educating themselves with a purpose. So we came up with this solution of learn to earn. If you get paid to learn, you take classes and you can actually pay your debt off over time as the share that you bought into increases over an accumulated amount of time as learners buy into the actual system. And this learn to earn model, we're hoping, and after doing some metrics with our tokenomics, that it will pay it off over time. And not only that, but if we have a decentralized model that is allowing people to enter into education freely, then there also is a potential for universal credits that can be abroad across any transcript around the world, using a decentralized autonomous organization that will evolve the way that we actually organize institutions, especially educational ones. And then, not to say there is a low barrier to entry, but there is a definite low barrier to entry when you have the whole world who's able to access this information. And we're going to try to make it really inexpensive. But the thing is that how about for those out of reach people? So that's another thing. So we have to make it accessible so that they not only rely on the online resource, but they're also able to take it away and then send in their physical copies, their tests, to a DAO that is able to approve of this. So that way online takers and also offline takers can have the same accreditation, because equality has to kind of equate across the board. As our infrastructure of the internet continues to develop, that's a bigger problem. But this is a surefire way of us actually trying to get up to speed at least. And not only that is that we're not limiting the amount of people that can come onto the network. Anybody from any socioeconomic background is then allowed to create new course paid work, and it's through Web3. And the quality and the validity of that work is then shared on Alexandria and verified by the Alexander DAO. I'm going to show you what that means right now. So how we came up with our model is that it's typically, this is actually something that we got from Harmony since we work alongside of Harmony, but there is a DAO structure and we kind of wanted to follow suit with that. So there was a large voter pool, about half of the pool when it comes to the voting process. They decide who are the certified board of directors, and then they are also deciding on who the board of approvals are. So the approvers are verifying the documents that are coming into Alexandria, and the certified board of directors are making sure they're making certified content that will then live decentrally and certified for the existence of the blockchain. And the whole idea is that the library of Alexandria got burned down centuries ago. So the one thing you can't burn down is the blockchain. So you might as well put public education in some form on it. So the mission is to make sure that we have mass adoption of online education, but the online education has another avenue for it to branch off so that it can be taken physically and sent in to the DAO. That way the DAO is constantly in motion and in work. The DAO is constantly reversing itself every 6 quarters, and we have a fall and we have a spring semester. So there's new courses happening all the time, and the governors of that DAO, they're switching the courses endlessly. They're certifying it and they're approving students, and they're certifying and they're approving students 24/7, making the credits universally accepted. People are paying in ANA. So we called our coin the Andrea token, which is right down here on the bottom left. It's kind of retro. I like the design. And beyond that, it's not only is it going to be fair, but it's going to be equally compensated. So the DAO is actually making sure that they're bringing in the right certifications and the right materials for students to learn and have universal credits. And they're getting paid for it every spring and winter and fall semester. So their incentive is essentially to be like a school board, no different than how a university would be, except that it's always switching and there's no hierarchy, there's no leadership in that kind of way, because that's not what DAOs are supposed to be. And we're trying to make it so that we're giving people the opportunity to be masters at what they do, and then give people the same opportunity. And what do I mean by that? So community education also equals the amount of commissions that they're going to be allowed to earn. So masters of their craft can also come on board and certify their certifications and their other courses. But people just like on Udemy and Coursera, they're more than welcome to come on and bring a course on that's not quote unquote accredited, but it can still be shared with the rest of the world. And the great thing is that anyone can buy the Andrea token and participate in every single cycle. So spring, winter, and fall semesters, if you have Andrea, you're able to vote for the right teachers and the right accreditations that you want. And many students who pay for those courses, they're going to get some special guarantees like a really nice NFT. And I'm going to show you some of that right now. And we made a little demo site of what this would actually look like. So it is a web application. And before I do that, we're trying to push it to Harmony. That's what this will be. And there's a little quote: "The future of public DAOs relies on the strength of the tools that serve them." So we're trying to make a compilation of different tools and utilities, putting them together, and we're making a decentralized university out of the things that already exist out there. So Alexandria. So it will be a decentralized institution that anybody can access. This would be something like the home page. They are allowed to go to check out our Defender DAO, check out some of the community, and then also they're going to have the ability to teach. If they go and click enter the class, they're going to be joined into our homepage. And then the homepage will look similar to something that's very Web 2. And we wanted to have it to have like a very Web 2, Web 3 different feel, like a combination of the two. And as we scroll down, we're going to have many different courses of all kinds. And this is where the public is actually going to be able to introduce themselves and teach something to the decentralized audience. And if you can tell, it's very reminiscent of an NFT marketplace, but instead of NFTs, it is an NFT, but it's also a course behind it. So you're not only learning and you're earning, but you're also getting a very unique NFT. And the idea is if you finish first, you're going to get a very special unique NFT. So all the NFTs are going to be generative. So if you're the 500th person, well, you're out of luck. But there is that competition. If you can beat your fellow colleagues, maybe you can get the highest grade. If you, whatever those traits are, we're going to put them all into these NFTs, and they're going to be worth something at the end of the day. And also those same teachers can say how much it's worth, and then how much they're going to actually give back once the student applies, takes the test, and then finishes the course. And I'm going to show you what some of those courses look like. We actually made an entire 5-lesson series on just Solidity because we're building this whole thing out of multiple smart contracts. So I'll show you that in a second. And this would be something like the panel board of the certified board of directors. And these are the accredited courses, and they're labeled with a white Andrea. So something pretty cool. And then we were thinking about, let's like add some networking rooms. That would be pretty cool, where we can use our NFT badges as emotes in chat when we talk to each other. Something weird. But yeah, ultimately your transcript is a unique collection of NFTs, and they accrue value over time. So when you learn, you literally earn, and that's the whole purpose of this. And when you learn any lesson, you're rewarded Andrea tokens and an NFT badge, and you can trade that anytime you want. I love our logo. I think it's really cool looking. And yeah, and then there's going to be a large community. We're trying to decentralize the way that we do research and also how we accredit ourselves academically. A universal standard of verifying our professionalism, our work ethic, and the dedication towards our practices while bridging all socioeconomic backgrounds. And that's the primary goal. And then you can enter the DAO, and if you want to, you can be a part of it, or you can actually teach for it. And you can learn from the best for a fraction of the price, which is the goal. We can try to make sure that when you join the DAO, you are teaching the whole world and not just a fraction of it, like I was mentioning before with the internet out of reach zones. And we're trying to take lessons to a whole different level. So when you join the DAO, you're going to be entered into a page. You're going to have people that you can vote for, and you're going to be able to vote for any teacher, any accredited person that you want. These people have their own info behind them. They have their own professions. They have their own careers, but then they come over to Alexandria and they want to bring their professions to a whole new level and have the DAO actually certify them as accredited actors in the space. And so this would be our DAO board. And there's a different examples. And you would connect your wallet and you would vote for them. And if you don't have any Andrea, then you would just go to our internal exchange and flip it from any other like Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever you want, and then flip it right into Andrea. And then that's how you're going to be able to participate back in the inside of the actual lesson portal. So outside of that, just really quick, I want to just show you our lesson plan, because we worked really hard on it. So we basically broke down the entirety of Ethereum in 2 weeks, and we made it digestible in 1 hour. So for example, we're trying to make it so quality where anybody can come to our platform and they can learn something. So this is an entire briefing of all things Ethereum, EVM, the history, the cyberpunk movement that even started it, the intro to Ethereum, going all the way down for Ethereum for Dummies, all sorts of things. It keeps going from blocks to what are dApps to what what is essentially a DAO, how to mine, what is Web3, and this just goes on and on, all the way down to how to actually set up your own node and what are cryptocurrencies. And we also made the same plans for actually coding and Solidity. So spent a lot of time on doing this with my whole team, and they were really great at making sure that they set this up. Benjamin was actually editing most of this all in his spare time. So he spent so much time doing this. It's crazy. But this is an entire Solidity lesson plan from beginning to end with contracts that you can download, you can actually take a look at. And I actually developed these myself. So you can go in, you can actually read each and every single comment on there, and you can understand Solidity at a very, very, very acute angle. So, and that's the same thing for building your own NFT, building your own dApp, and so on. And then there's other raw guides, like we have a Git guide and so on. So we started with software development, and that's going to be our first implementation on this platform. So yeah, I'm excited that this is happening and this is working. And the next push is to actually send it out as a dApp and get it fully functioning with the UI, and in the matter of the next month, and then just get a bunch of people on board. So thank you so much for letting me speak. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, Dylan. I'm very, very impressed, as in you have made so much progress in the past month. You and your team did great. You designed the tokenomics. You had a lot of the demos and UI ready. So I'm very excited to see your progress. A lot of hard work has been done, and I look forward to actually more progress coming from your team.